Hey everybody, Austin back again with another Let's Play video. Today it's going to be Super R-Type for the Super Nintendo, or actually technically the Super Famicom. As many of you guys know, I've actually already done a Super R-Type Let's Play. However, I was up at East Starland today and I saw they had a Japanese copy of the same game, so basically it's the Super Famicom version. And, you know, I did some quick research online before picking it up because they have computers you can use there. And, I read that there's a couple of slight differences that some players are aware of, at least on the first level. And, you know what? So I wanted to pick up the cartridge, check it out for myself, and see if anything else was different throughout the rest of the game as well. So even though I've already done a Let's Play on this game, essentially what this is going to be is a playthrough of the Japanese version to see if there are any differences in this version compared to the North American release. Now, I'm not sure if there's a long play or a Let's Play of this game somewhere on YouTube. There probably is, but I didn't look for it. I didn't look for it before doing this video, so yeah. I did notice two differences so far already, actually. Is for one, before the title screen, there's actually the IREM logo, which was kind of interesting. That was chopped out of the North American release. I'm not really sure why, because I'm pretty sure IREM published it in both regions. Second, Novice has been changed to Kids. Well, not changed, because this probably originated in Japan first and then was brought over to America. So instead of Novice, we have Kids, which is, I'm going to assume it's pretty much the exact same thing. So, yeah. Just for the sake of actually making it through the whole game in this Let's Play, I'm going to stick it on normal mode as well. If you want to see hard mode, from the North American version at least, you can watch my North American Let's Play of this same game. And I do manage to beat it on hard, and I make it a good way through the game on pro mode. I'm not going to bother with hard right now, though. It's been a long day at work, and so who knows how my performance is actually going to pan out. So, alright, looks like everything else is pretty much the same. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the American version goes to 0F, and, okay, well, let's go ahead and get into the game. I'm mostly curious about this very first level. So this pretty much looks the same as well. You know, I have a feeling the majority of the game is going to be identical. But I'm definitely most curious about this first stage. Yeah, look at that. No planets. No planets. Wow. In the North American version, there's lots of bright planets in the background, and I always liked the first stage in this game. I always liked how it looked. The planets really showed off the colors and so forth of the Super Nintendo. And as many of you guys know, or in case you didn't know, Super R-Type was actually a very early Super Nintendo release when it came out. And, you know, as such, it was actually one of those games that actually really demonstrated you know, the color capabilities of the Super Nintendo versus the old Famicom or 8-bit Nintendo Entertainment System. And, you know, those planets, and I saw someone on the Shmups forums actually kind of complain about them being bland, but they're colorful. They really kind of show off the Super Nintendo. And this one looks like, oh, look at that. We'll see, this one does too. It's actually got this really big planet in the background. Check that out. That's pretty cool. That's actually a pretty major difference compared to the North American release. That's actually really cool. The background is actually totally different in this one, and I like that. That's pretty neat. I love it when there are differences between different regions of games, because it gives you a reason to go through and play the game from said different region. You know, like, if this game was absolutely completely 100% identical to the North American release, there would really be no reason to invest in the Japanese copy as well, no matter how big a fan of the game you are, but I think that's pretty cool. Now, it has been a while since I played this game. Actually, I think it's been since I did my last Let's Play of this game, which could, at this point, could very well have been a year to a year and a half ago. It's been a little while since I've played R-Type, or Super R-Type, so I may be a little rusty. So the big question is, there was a major difference on the first stage Question is there a major difference on any of the other stages as well? Now, I played the US Super R-Type a lot. It was, especially back in the day, one of my absolute favorite Super Nintendo games. One of my most played Super Nintendo games back then. As crazy as it sounds, I know this game doesn't get a whole lot of respect these days, but I've always loved this game. Thought it was a great shoot 'em up. A little difficult and a little punishing if you die, but I was always able to put up with that. And as a result, I've gotten really familiar with the game, and for the most part, I don't have too much of a problem getting through it. And, you know, that just kind of sort of compounds on my enjoyment of the game. You know, when you're better at games, I think it's easier to like them. You don't have as many frustrating moments. It's, you know, just fun to sit back and plow through the game, soak up the cool graphics, which this game definitely has, the awesome soundtrack, which, again, this game has as well, and just generally fun gameplay, which the R-Type series has always had. And, keeping that in mind, the R-Type series is actually one of my favorite shooter series pretty much in existence. I've pretty much enjoyed all the R-Type games I have played a lot, especially R-Type Delta on the PlayStation. Just an amazing game. And there's just something about the series that has always sort of resonated with me. I don't know if it's the unique art style, if it's the unique ship design, or if it's the unique weapon system where you've got this force pod or whatever they call it. Just a really great gameplay mechanic, and that you actually didn't really see used all that much in other shooters. I mean, not to the exact same degree, you know, the exact same format, pod on the front, detachable, and then on the back of the ship. You had a couple games that sort of copied it, or mimicked it, or sort of modified the formula, kind of like Last Hope in the arcade and on Dreamcast and Neo Geo, and as well as Pulsar on the Neo Geo. So we're pretty much nearing the end of this stage, and no differences at all as far as I can tell. It looks like this weapon is the same as well. Alright, so this boss... No, pretty much the same as far as I can tell. I'm pretty sure that background was always kind of scrolling slower before. See if we can kill this guy in one hit. Did it. Yep. Killing some of these bosses in one hit is really key. It's really key that you do it, because if you die... Well, if this is like the American version, you're going all the way back to the very beginning of the stage, and that can get frustrating really quick. So, no thanks to the sort of double charging mechanism in this game, or mechanic, you can actually kill many bosses in pretty much one swift blast. The first boss, you can do it on certain difficulties anyway. On normal, you should be able to do it. On hard, I don't think you can, because it takes more damage to, or more hits to take bosses down. This boss, you definitely can. The last boss, as you saw, you definitely can as well. The fifth boss, actually, it's not the fifth boss. It's, yeah, the fifth boss. Whoa, that was close. Kamikaze dudes. When you kill these guys, they go flying in the direction that they're pointed in, so you really need to watch out for them. And, that one enemy sort of got caught behind me, was about to just slam right into me. But yeah, the fourth boss you cannot kill in one hit, because it's actually got three different things you need, or two different things you need to destroy before you can actually get to the main pod, or main portion of the boss, where you can destroy him. You can destroy that part in one hit with a good double charge. Fifth boss, a little tricky to get him to go down in one hit, but on normal mode, I'm pretty sure he'll go down in one hit with the double charge. So yeah, it's really, really good to know when to use the double charge on bosses, and it'll definitely help you take down bosses easier, which will, in the end, make your life easier. And, yeah. Dude's gonna fall down, got him. Okay. a pretty sound strategy is getting a good, you know, set of power-ups, like right here. I love this sort of ripple ring kind of laser that I have. It's very powerful. It's the one of the most powerful weapons in the game. I'd argue it's the most powerful because when you get your pod just mounted into enemies, you can sort of just have the pod on top of enemies. The pod will also be damaging the enemies as well as the ring or ripple laser. Like this guy right here. This guy's gonna go down really fast. Bam, just like that. Because I was basically hitting him with 3 different things. Actually, technically 4. I was hitting him with the pod. I was hitting him with the ring laser. I was hitting him with the top option laser beam. And then the missile as well. And the game actually registers all 4 hits. It's not selective, or it doesn't choose, you know, you kind of get what I'm talking about. It's not selective about what actually damages an enemy. Unfortunately, there are shooters out there that are like that, and I can get a little frustrating. You can be fully powered up, but it still won't really do anything. Oh, shoot. Well, this might be a little tough since... Yeah. I missed the double blast. Got it. Woo! I thought the head was gonna pop back inside the body, and I was gonna miss it, or it was gonna pop out on the other side, or something like that. So pretty much, we were another 2 stages in from that first level, and unfortunately, there were no differences. So, and this stage looks like it's pretty much identical as well. But hey, you know what? I'm having fun playing this game. I haven't played against Super R-Type in a little while now. It is a game I like to revisit at least probably once a year. Sometimes more. And, you know, it's just I think it's a really great shooter for the system, especially considering it was one of the earliest games in the system. It really was a great showcase title, I think. You know, it's got some good scrolling, it's got some great use of graphical effects. It's got some great detailed visuals in general, like just this battleship looks pretty cool. And I like the sort of fake depth it gives, where you can see sort of lights from other sides of the ship behind you. And there's just a lot of great attention to detail in this game, and you know, in a way, I almost think the game doesn't get enough respect for what it is. I think it's a really great game from top to bottom. It does have a few frustrating flaws. I mean, I'm not here trying to really defend the game. I'm just trying to be realistic about it, I suppose you could say. But it definitely has some flaws, such as the crazy start back mode, which is going to really put off a lot of people. But if you can adapt to that and kind of learn the game, I think it's a really well-rounded shoot 'em up for the system. Albeit a little punishing, but that's sort of always been the nature of R-Type, is punishing. Especially the arcade versions. Wow, we're talking some of the hardest shoot 'em ups ever made. The arcade versions of R-Type and R-Type 2. Now this game itself, it's called Super R-Type, and I should mention that it really has nothing to do with, say, the first R-Type. It's actually sort of a hybrid and remaster, or remixing and remastering of the arcade R-Type 2. It has some similar stages, or some of the same stages as found in R-Type 2, but it also has some brand new stages. Like this stage pretty much replaces the battleship level of arcade R-Type 2, and the boss here is completely different as well. I think actually for the better. I like this version of the battleship more than the one in R-Type 2, which is almost absurdly difficult. R-Type 2 has some of the craziest and most frustrating level design known to mankind. Shoot 'em up level design known to mankind. It is an extremely frustrating and difficult game. This, I think, definitely tones things down a little bit, but for the better, for a more balanced experience. So there's the first part. A second one's going to come up, and it's not too hard to take it down. And thankfully this game has slowdown. That was one of the big complaints about the game, but to be honest, this is one of those games where you're glad to have slowdown. Because at times there's some tricky, you know, ways you have to dodge enemies, and or not enemies as much as bullets. Like, you know, when it did the sort of 5-way ricochet shot. That's tough to dodge when it's at full speed, no slowdown. But when you've got all that slowdown, you have a little more time to think about it and, you know, work your way through it. Position yourself so you don't die and don't get shot back to the very beginning of the level. So we're on stage 5 now, and this level has always been a bit of a pain. I'd have to say this is probably one of the trickiest levels in the game. We're actually probably... Aside from the final stage in the game, I'd argue it is the trickiest level in the game. I'm a little disappointed, though, that there aren't any other differences. I was really hoping for more differences, but you know what? Nah, whatever. It is what it is, I suppose. So, but we're not completely through the game yet, so there's still a glimmer of hope that there will be something different. So this is a good level where you really just want to have the ripple laser and just keep pummeling whatever enemies you see. As long as you're fully powered up, you really shouldn't have too much of a problem. And take advantage of that slowdown. As bad as that sounds, I mean, take advantage of that slowdown. As far as I can tell, the music is identical as well, which was expected. I mean, the Super R-Type always had a very detailistic soundtrack, lots of different instruments going on, lots of great composition changes and whatnot. And again, it's just something else that has really impressed me about the game over the years, is just how detailed the soundtrack is for being such an early Super Nintendo game. So it doesn't shock me that there aren't any differences there. I mean, it would be kind of crazy to go through and rework the whole soundtrack, because the soundtrack is already extremely diverse and detailed. Now, what's really interesting about Super Nintendo is that, or Super Famicom even, is that its earliest games had some of the best and most diverse and most eclectic soundtracks that still sound great, still stand the test of time. Super Castlevania 4, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Super R-Type, I mean, the list just goes on. UN Squadron. Oh man, what else is there? There's a lot. Even Super Mario World, not quite the soundtrack I would go and listen to on my own time, but it is very eclectic as well. And, you know, as the Super Nintendo sort of went on and it lived on, a lot of games sort of didn't have amazing soundtracks like that, or didn't stand out, or weren't that detailed, or had 2-second or 10-second loops that just literally looped over and over. Super R-Type, though, you can go to the sound test, listen to some of the tunes, and they'll literally play for like 3 or 4 minutes and have tons of different variations in them. Like, the first level theme is a great example. So let's try to focus on this guy and not die. Come on, you know you want to die. Thank you. That is a boss where you probably want to just try to get your double charge going, but due to the shifting platforms and whatever, or shifting hallways, it's a little difficult to time it right. Because, kind of like the third boss in the game, his weak point is only there for a few moments at a time, because sometimes it's stuck in walls and you can't get in front of it and destroy it, which can be a little frustrating. Yeah, going back on that sort of tangent about soundtracks and the diversity of the music and sort of the detailed nature of early Super Nintendo soundtracks, The other game that really just comes to mind alongside this game of the same era is mostly Super Castlevania 4. Super Castlevania 4 has an absolutely stunning soundtrack, and it's got so many different tunes in the game, all of which are very, very detailed. The loops are a little short in many cases, but there are so many different tracks that sound just highly professional, really. Even still to this day, using the canned Super Nintendo samples and stuff like that, it sounds great. Trying to get this pod behind me. So that can be a pretty tricky part. Alright, get back here. Thank you. Now this boss I'm not a huge fan of, so let's just hope I don't die. This boss can definitely be frustrating. Although we do have it on normal, so it might not be as frustrating as it is on other skill modes. So there's gonna be some enemies coming from the bottom, from the trash, basically, as I assume that's what that is. This definitely seems like a garbage dump, if you will. Kind of a cool level design, if you ask me. I like it. I'm not sure if this was in the arcade R-Type 2. I actually never got this far. I want to say I got stuck on stage 4 in R-Type 2. Basically the one where these beans come out of the walls, and they basically just place blocks in front of you and they trap you in. And extremely, extremely frustrating level, which I have never beaten. The level itself is awful, and then you get to a boss that is pretty much equally as awful and devious. And yeah, I think that is a game I will probably never ever complete, unfortunately, which actually kind of saddens me. I've actually completed the very first R-Type, not in the arcade, but I did beat it on the PC Engine. Oh, what did I get hit by? I swear that probably happened in my first Let's Play as well. Well, it's a good thing I died though, because at least we figured one thing out, and that is the Japanese version still has the crappy checkpoint system. So, looks like we're going through this whole stage all over again. And that is definitely a reason why you don't want to die in this game, or you want to get used to... You want to either get used to dying, and you definitely want to learn the game and learn from your mistakes. Which admittedly, I think for a lot of people is hard to do. Judging by the amount of people that say a lot of these old school games are still hard. It's actually sort of just echoing some forum threads I've been looking at where I can tell some of the people haven't, or at least when they were growing up and playing these games, they didn't take the time to learn them. They would pop in Game Genie and just bolt through the game. They still say games like Ninja Gaiden are the hardest games ever made, where in reality, yeah, they're tricky, but with a little practice and memorization, they're actually not that bad. It's more so a case of needing to know how to play the game, but seems a lot of people, especially back in the day, didn't want to go through that effort to do so. Super hard type is definitely a game where you have to learn it, otherwise you're going to be having some problems. So, alright, this is kind of a bad situation to be in. All these guys behind me. I need to get my pod behind me. There we go. Problem solved. Not a bad idea to have it spread out right now, too. The spread shot from your pod is a little weak, but when you have a lot of popcorn enemies that really only take one hit to kill, it's, you know, not a big deal. It's actually a pretty sound strategy. Alright, let's try this again, huh? Shall we? Hey. It's definitely a boss I have never cared for that much. But fortunately we're on normal mode, which makes this guy a hell of a lot easier. Oh, now it's gonna speed up. Got him. At least we don't have to do that again. So, alright, we are pretty much on the final level, and no differences so far as I can tell. Which again, bit of a shame, but hey, at least we tried. Realistically, that up and down beam and the one that follows the walls probably would have been better to have on this stage. And this level can be a major pain. It definitely helps to have your options above and below you. Big time. Ah, man, it's tough to figure out which weapon I want. I think this is probably the better bet. And my main missile shot is probably the better one to have as well. Seems to be good at taking enemies out below me. I've always loved this track in this game. Super R-Type had a great bass sound. It's very twangy. It's I always had a great bass sound, and this track definitely highlights that. Very funky, sort of a dark kind of funky, you know. I like that. I knew that was coming up from replaying and playing this level over and over and over again back in the day. What I would do is I would play this game on hard mode. That was one of my ultimate goals back in the day, was to beat it on hard mode. Especially once I got familiar with it on normal mode. Obviously I died here a lot on normal mode. But after beating it on hard, the goal would be to beat it on expert or pro or whatever it was called. Basically the highest difficulty mode in the game. And I only managed to do that once, and you have no idea how many times I had to replay this level. Granted, I was only in 6th grade, so I would say my skills weren't nearly as high as they are now. Not to say they're all that high now, but I have less of a difficult time now than I did back then. And I remember having to leave my system on overnight in order to try to beat it on pro mode. It was so difficult. I had to try it over the course of a couple days. And I ended up doing it one time. That was definitely one of my gaming highlights from back then. Because that was, yeah, extreme frustration. I'm sort of just playing this the easy way, and really, man? This is annoying. definitely requires your attention. That is for sure. This is one of those bosses where you can probably toss your pod back there, but I'm not gonna risk that right now. I mean, just look at all these enemies. Oh man, thankfully that guy was easier to kill than the first one. Whew. Again, like I said in the beginning of the video, it's been a little while since I played Super R-Type, and even though I played this game a lot in the past, I still get on edge when I play this, especially on bosses like that. Because again, if you die, you're shot all the way back to the beginning, and it's extremely difficult to recover. Not impossible. I could probably actually recover on any stage now if I died, because I've done it so many times over the years. But it's very tough, and I think people that don't have the levels memorized are going to have an extremely difficult time recovering if they die. Fortunately, unlike other versions of R-Type, like the arcade R-Types, this is actually, you know, it's more punishing that you get started back from the beginning, but in a way it actually makes things easier, because usually the beginnings of stages aren't that bad. And you do get a couple power-ups almost immediately, always, whereas a lot of times the checkpoints in the arcade R-Types left you empty-handed through some of the most difficult sections in the game. So, well, look at that. Looks like the ending's in English, which I guess was expected, because everything up until now has been in English, even though it's only just been menus and things like that. And unfortunately, it looks like that's it. Nothing else is different about this version of Super R-Type. Really makes me wonder why they decided to change the look of the background of the first level, which we're back at now. That just really kind of blows my mind why they would go through the effort to change it. Or maybe they had already designed it. Maybe it's even in the cartridge somewhere, the US design, and they just decided to switch it just for grins. I have no idea. I'm just pulling stuff out of my ass right now. So, but anyway, guys, you know, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I'm not going to play it through again. If you want to see Super R-Type on hard mode, definitely check out my North American Let's Play of the same game, albeit, again, the North American version. And I do manage to run through that on hard mode. No continues. And I do get halfway through it on Pro mode or Expert, whatever the next difficulty up is. Unfortunately, you can't access the higher difficulty modes without running through on hard mode. There may be a cheat that I'm unaware of, or that I forgot about, that someone might have linked me to in my last Let's Play. But as far as I know, you have to beat it on hard, and then you get the next level up, which is really, really tough. The bosses are extremely tough in that one, because they take so many more hits to take down. So, game over. And it looks like the game over screen is identical as well. So, we will not continue, and that's that. So, there you have it, guys. Super R-Type for the Super Famicom. Thanks again for watching. If you've watched it through all this way, I'll be back with some more Let's Plays sometime soon. Thanks for the continued support. I cannot talk right now. It's late. And yeah, I'll catch you guys soon. Thanks again for watching.